Hey everyone, and welcome. In the number one from this series, Creation Accelerator series, I spoke about life, creating your life. And if you have watched that video, comment life below so that I know that you have watched it. And if you haven't yet watched it, then I would say please go ahead and watch it, because each one of these I'm going to share with you really simple tools that I use to create a lot of things. In today's live, I'm going to talk about creations and teams. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about creations and teams, and I was actually inspired to use this one by this question that somebody has sent in, and she says teamwork and not letting where each person on the team is stop the creation, but include every energy that they bring in and using it to create greater. Hi Helena, good to see you live, and hi to everyone who is live. Hi to everyone who is watching the replay, and I'm so honored that you are choosing to watch this series. Okay, in today's live, I'm going to talk about teamwork, and I'm also going to talk about creations. Okay, so you may have something that you are creating. It might be a project, it might be a class that you're creating, it might be an event that you're creating. It could also just be like a dinner party that you're hosting, or a party you're hosting, or some kind of a social event that you are organizing, whatever it may be. Okay, so when you are creating that, you know, remember that 2020 is this year of, the energy has speeded up. So manifestation is really fast. It is really, really, really fast. Okay. And so, if you would like to, if you don't want to see the default show up in your life, then what you would actually want to do is to create consciously. And how do you create consciously? So one of the easiest way of creating consciously is always being in the question. And these are the two sets of questions that I have been using a lot, especially one of these questions, and I'm using it in so many different forms. And this question has been creating the most for me. So I was just talking to my mom, and she was telling me, I'm using the code, and this is the Majesty code that I was talking about in the last live stream. And she said, I'm using the code, but I find that, I'm losing a lot of money. I said, what do you mean? And she gave me an example of where, she had some repairmen come in who kind of billed her for a really high amount. And I said to her, Mom, wait a minute, what are you saying? And then I asked her, so has your actualizing capacity really exponentialized? That means that you are really actualizing at the speed of space. And she said, yes. And I said, when you called those people to repair the things, were you creating consciously, or were you at a default? And he was like, oops, I was at a default. So if you are at default, you're going to have all those crappy things show up in your life. So you would rather, create consciously. So how do you create consciously? Okay, question. And the question that you use. So today we are talking about creations. So again, it could be an event coming up. It could be a class that you're creating. It could be a project that you're part of. In your workspace. It could be a project that you're part of. So the question that you would like to play with is, what would it take for this creation to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? What would it take for this creation to turn out even greater than I have ever considered? Okay. And this question is so phenomenal in so many different levels. Okay. It is really phenomenal on so many different levels. Okay. So recently, I had an event. It was a We had invited some people over for dinner, and I woke up in the morning and I had a really bad headache, right? And the lady who helps me around in the house, she messaged me saying that she could not come that day. And so I had to, I had additional work to do apart from cooking for the dinner party, and I had a headache. And the way my headache was progressing, it was like it's going to get worse and not better. And so I spent a little bit of time, having that pity party, and generally going, why does this have to happen today? Why this headache? Blah 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 blah. I did it for some time, and then I said, oh, I could actually go to question. And so I said, what would it take for this dinner to be even greater than I've ever considered? And then I looked at that pile of work which was in front of me, which I knew that I had to do. And I looked at all of that and I said, what would it take for all this to get done even greater than I've ever considered? And the first time I said this question, immediately I could just, feel that relaxation in my whole body. And, everything just kind of relaxed. I just went, I had that sense of space, and I said, oh, now this is where the conscious creation comes in. And the pity party is the default. Okay. So, life happens. You have these things that get thrown at you, which you didn't think were part of the equation. And then what do? You go to question. What would it take for this to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? And then, what would it take to get all this done even greater than I've ever considered? And so I played around with those questions, and it was like, the first thing popped in my mind, and it was like, do this. And I went and did that. And as soon as I completed it, I got like, do this. And then I went and did that. And then I did the third thing and the fourth thing. And then pretty soon, pretty much everything was done. My son came home, my husband came home, they helped me in cleaning the house, everything. And, the house was all done, everything was spick and span, the food was all done. And what was really amazing was that, these were friends that we had invited over for dinner. And that day was really so different. Like, we all just started chatting, and all of us, we just enjoyed that conversation we had. It was just like so beautiful. We had that connection with each other. It was amazing. The food was like, there was something very different about the food, and they were like, wow, this is so amazing. And normally, our friend, he is like, by 9:30, he's like, okay, I have to go to work tomorrow, I have to drive back to the city. They live about half an hour away from us, and he's in a hurry to leave. But that day, like, we were talking till 10:30 p.m., and they were like, just sitting, and it was just totally very, very, very different. So the question, what would it take for this to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? And what would it take for all this work to be done even greater than I've ever considered? And now I'm going to read that question again that someone has sent in. Teamwork and not letting where each person on the team is top creation, but include every energy that they bring in and using it to create greater. So this is where I address teams, okay? And so a lot of times we are part of a team. So even if you're in a family and you're planning a family vacation together, it is a team event, right? Or you are, say, you would like to move, or someone wants to move in the family. Again, it becomes like a family event. And then of course, in the when you're working in a job, in your professional setting, you are always a part of the team. And so teamwork, and not letting where each person on the team is. So people on the team can be at different spaces. And I'm sure we all have experienced that, someone is like, they just choose to go a different route or whatever. So in that case, how do you bring it all together? Again, this question, okay, whatever your project is, what would it take for this project to be done even greater than we have ever considered? So in this case, start using the word than we have ever considered. And what would it take for us to work together on this project even greater than we have ever considered? Okay, so let me talk about, say, going on a family holiday. Okay, so especially when you're going on a holiday with your family, like in my case, so we are husband and wife and our two boys. Okay, and then all of us have different things that we enjoy doing. So when we start planning a holiday, like we are planning a holiday for the summer, and so I'm already in that question, what would it take for this trip to wherever to be even greater than we have ever considered? And now, when I look at that one of the things that I have to take care of is the visa. We have to go apply for the visa. So I already started asking, what would it take for us to for us to get this visa even greater than I've ever considered? No, that doesn't really sound right, but something like that. So basically, like every part of that vacation, when I look at and it pops, I'll just create a question around that, and I will just start being in the question. And what I like to do is I like to repeat these questions like 30 times a day. And what occurs is, okay, so I seem to be talking a lot, and I don't see anyone saying anything. It's like almost like I'm talking to myself. So if you are listening to me, and just type in vacation in the comments below, just so that I know that you're listening to what I'm saying and I'm not talking to myself. So just kidding, I know you guys are listening, but it would still be nice if you could type something to show me that you guys are here. Okay, and so what I do is I start being in these questions like 30 times a day. Each one of these new questions, I will say it like 30 times a day, and many times I will even record it on my phone. And what I do is that I kind of play it. Hey Stacy, thanks for saying that. Anju, Julie, Priyanka, Miriana, all of you, thank you so much for being live. And yeah, hi Sophia. So I recorded on my phone these questions, and then I just play it aloud, and I'm listening to it. Some days if I'm just being too lazy to do it, and typically, all these questions I will also say it out when I go for my walk, or when I wake up in the morning and I go in the kitchen and I have to prepare breakfast and tiffins for my son and my husband. I have my phone loud, and I will be listening to these questions over and over again, and it just sets the tone of my day in a really, really beautiful way. It just opens up that whole thing for my day. Okay, and so play with this question, play with something that is coming up for you. Maybe it's a class that you're creating. Maybe it is Hi Neha, hi Philip, hi Mom, hi Harveen, hi Darinka. Yes, yay! It's so good to have all of you live with me here. So just start playing around with this question. My son runs. So the question I gave him was, what would it take for my running to be even greater than I've ever considered? So last night, my other son, he was participating in a 10K run. My husband was doing a 10K, and I signed up for a 5K at the last minute. And I was like, when I was there at the stadium where the run was, I was like, I could really see I was in a default mode. And so I said, oh, oops, I'm in a default mode. So let me now change the energy of it. So I started repeating that question, which I had given my son: what would it take for my run today to be even greater than I've ever considered? And I just said it like a few times. And then, I was in the run and we started off and it was great. And of course, I mostly call it runs, but most of the time I'm walking in there, but I just like to participate. So I did my 5 kilometer circuit, and I noticed that there was still half an hour remaining for the prize distribution ceremony. And I knew that my husband would want to wait for the prize distribution. So what I did was I took another circuit, and I ended up completing like 7.5 kilometers. And the moment I finished, I reached the place where the podium was, and they announced that my son, he won the first prize in his category, and I could be there. So, like I said, what would it take for this run to be even greater than I've ever considered? And that was it. Like, I was like, it was really interesting throughout. Like, otherwise, we are waiting around for the prize ceremony and I get bored and all that. And yesterday I wasn't, because I was walking and I was enjoying myself on the track. So, what would it take for this to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? Use this for all the events that you have, for everything that is coming up. Like, if you wake up in the morning and you look at all the different things that you have to do through the day, you could just go, what would it take for this to turn out even greater than I've ever considered, for that to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? And what you will notice is that they just turn out in a way which like defies all logic. Like, things start to fall in place together. You will just be at the right place at the right time. Things will just click click click, get like totally lined up. And I have been using and playing with this question so much since the beginning of this year, and I have seen so many magical moments occur, that it's just like one of the examples I've actually shared it in a post on Facebook. So we were we were in nature on the weekend, and we decided to do like a long trek through a wadi. A wadi is like a dry riverbed between mountains. And my son and I were walking together, and there was this little hillock, so we climbed up, went down, and I told him, you know what, Zain, while coming back, we won't climb up the hill. We'll instead walk that side and go through the wadi. And so we walked to the end of the wadi, and as we were coming back and we approached this hill, I told him, let's take this detour. So we went in there, and we could have taken this one route, and there was like a why. So I said, let's go this other way. And when we went the other way, we discovered that there were these pools in the rocks, and it was so beautiful. And we were just standing there, hanging around, looking at the water. Zain was jumping all over and taking slow motion. My husband was clicking his photographs or whatever. And then at one point, I suddenly had this really strong urge to just get up and leave that place and go. And I called all of them. I said, let's go. And so Zain and I, we started walking out. We walked out of that little thing, came to the main path of the wadi, and we were walking there. And then we see this car coming behind us, and so it was coming, just, and I was walking in the way. So I crossed the road, went to the other side, and then I turn around and that car is still following us. So I said, oh, I turned, and maybe they also turned, and I turned around, and guess what? There were our friends in the car. And it was so bizarre to meet them in the wadi that day. And I was like, wow, how many things had to have come together for us to meet exactly at that point. Like, if we had sat at those water pools for another 10 more minutes, they would have passed and gone away. We wouldn't have met them, but we did meet them. So it was like, that thing when we began, we all three of us, like, what would it take for today's trek to be even greater than we have ever considered? And meeting our friends there, it was just so magical, and all of us were like laughing and giggling, and we were just so joyous. It was just amazing. So my invitation to you, uh, use this question, like, use it for anything and everything. And literally, in all these Facebook lives that I'm going to be doing in this whole series, I'm going to be sharing with you different versions of this question plus other things, okay? Just because I want you to see how many different creative ways that we can use it, and really, get into that, train yourself to be a conscious creator. Because if you're not being a conscious creator, then you're going to create by default. And creating by default is like being cheated by people, ending up paying extra money, or finding yourself in a situation where people are angry or mean or nasty or all of that. So do you really want to have all of that in your life? And if you don't, then start being a conscious creator. Like, wake up in the morning, look at your whole day, look at the things you have to do during the day, and just go, what would it take for this to turn out even greater than I've ever considered? And you may not say it 30 times, although if you say it 30 times, it really gets amplified. And just go through your day and start to see what magic and miracles start showing up in your life. And that is conscious creation. So type in the comments below conscious creation if that is what you would like to show up in your life. Now, if you would like me to talk about specific things, you can post in the comments below. You can also message me, or send in an email, and I will talk about it in one of the Facebook lives. Tomorrow, I will be going live at the same time, and I will be talking about difficulties in a job. So someone was just sharing with me that she has not received her salary for the past 2 months, and she was really unhappy about the whole thing. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about that. So feel free to send in any of your stuff if you would like me to talk about it, and I will. And of course, I do want to share with you one of the amazing creations that has shown up for me. And it is these symbols, and it's almost, I can call it sacred geometry. I call it the majestic codes. And these are literally drawings of light which started to appear to me. And I invited a group of my clients and friends to trial them out, and they have been getting phenomenal results. Okay. And I will be sharing 3 of these in this month of February, in my monthly membership program, Alchemy Accelerator. So now the thing is that, if you would like to have the codes, they are not free. You have to pay for it. So I'm going to, you are welcome to join Alchemy Accelerator. You will get access to 3 codes in this particular month. There are also really powerful energy exercises that I share, which are creating amazing changes for people. Like amazing, amazing, amazing things. The testimonials I'm receiving from people are just amazing. So come play with us there. If you don't want to be a part of Alchemy Accelerator and you would just like to purchase the codes, I will create the link and I will share it with you very soon. You can just start off with 1 code. It's going to cost you $11. If you're really very anxious and eager to start playing with the code, just let me know that you would like to have the code. I'll send you a PayPal link. You can make the payment and I will add you to the group where we are playing with the codes. So thanks everyone for listening to me. Tomorrow in the series, I am going to talk about the workplace and all the challenges that you face. Not all the challenges, some of the challenges that you face in the workplace, or maybe it could be something to do with money and your career, or money and your business. So people who don't get a raise in their job, or who've had appraisals and they've been very low, or they've not received a salary. And the same holds true for business as well, right? Like you may have bad debts, like people would be refusing to pay you and all those kind of things. So I'm going to talk about all of that in tomorrow's Facebook Live. And if you have any other things that you would like me to talk about, feel free to post it in the comments below. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't already listened to the Healing Circle, I invite you to go and watch it. You will find it, click on the videos tab and you will see all the videos. It was yesterday. It was amazing, healing for the earth, healing for all of us, and any of the things that we are asking for. I invite you to come play with me there, to listen to that, and let's contribute to changing this whole planet as we know it. So thanks everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Oh, yeah. I will post the link for tomorrow's video here, and you can click on the get reminder button to be notified when we go live. I also have a bot that you can subscribe to, and, I send out a message 15 minutes before the call. So I will post both the links in the description, and feel free to subscribe to both. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.